fear in this job, you should hire a psychiatrist immediately, and try to live as normal a life as you can. But some of it you can't, and that's why we're all crazy.
Wow. How? I'd like to start this conversation reading a statement that you posted online after the gig last summer. Even when I'm low, you wrote, Italy never fails to carry me higher.
I mean, I think I'm naturally a little bit melancholic. And I don't think anybody runs to dance music unless they need it. And it has been such a blessing in my life, but in particular to come here. My relationship with Italy has always been so special from the beginning. Like, it was really the first country outside of America to really embrace me. It was the first place where I ever got recognized on the street. I couldn't believe it. You know, it's so shocking to me. And I've always had a closeness with this place, and I still do.
And you can see that this love is shared because your last single, Mercy, here in Italy is a big hit.
I know.
It's a very, very big hit. Do you expect this great success of this single?
I don't know if I expected it as the single, but I think that if it was going to happen anywhere, it would have happened here first. That part does not surprise me, because there is a special affinity, I think, especially between Italy and Chicago, for a love of the way that dance music changes people, and we have a lot of shared cultural overlap. And so, while you never want to think, oh, this is going to be amazing and I'm going to have a giant hit or whatever, if it was going to happen anywhere, it was going to happen here.
Who is Maria Stamper for the ones who know your songs very well but doesn't know you well yet?
I think I'm probably an introvert masquerading as an extrovert. In my real life, I'm quite shy, but there is another part of me that does this other thing, and I think that seeks the thing that I fear maybe most, which is to be taken out of that quietness and that solowness, and they almost live separately.
You did not look like a shy girl in the DJ booth.
No, I'm not.
It's your comfort zone. It's your comfort place to dance.
Yeah, that's a different place. That part I know how to do. It's the rest of it that I'm still not sure about.
I read online some stories about you, but I don't always trust the web.
Well, let's hear it. I'll confirm or deny.
It's true that you were bullied at school?
Oh, absolutely. I was bullied out of school. I left school because it was so terrible. Oh, it was awful. Like, when I was in high school, it was so bad that my English teacher had to let me take classes alone in his office because it was disruptive to the class while I was there.
Oh.
Really?
In Kentucky or in
In Kentucky.
Yeah.
Lafayette High School.
Oh.
Shout out to Dan Omler. You were a really great teacher. He was my debate coach and my English teacher. But I didn't even make it through my first year of high school. I dropped out.
Is it true that you were arrested for arranging a rave in Chicago back in the days?
No.
It's false.
That is false.
False.
I do have one arrest for a rave-related situation, but it was not in Chicago.
Okay.
And it was dismissed. The case was dismissed. My record is clean. I have never technically created no crimes, nothing on my rap sheet.
Is it true that you used to sell mixtapes at raves?
Absolutely.
For a living?
Yes. Well, yes. Oh, yeah. I've been all over the Midwest selling mixtapes by Paul Johnson and Hyperactive and all the great legends of Chicago house, but also just Midwest techno in general. We also sold T-shirts, because at the time you couldn't buy the internet really didn't. I mean, it existed, but it wasn't functional for that kind of thing. So if you wanted to hear dance music, you had to either go to a party or buy a mixtape or be a DJ and buy records.
Do you remember the price of the mixtapes?
Yes. So $5 a piece or 3 for $20. $5 a piece or 5 for $20.
$5, €5 for 1 hour of music.
That's right. Cassette tape.
And did you use the Black Madonna name or Lady Foursquare name?
Neither. I wasn't a DJ yet. I didn't DJ until I was in college. I was just a young teenager. I started selling mixtapes when I was 14.
Oh, did you choose the music on the mixtape?
No. They were other DJs like Derek Carter or whoever. It was like live mixes or mixes that they would record in their house. There was a whole mixtape culture. People would make them and they would be very planned. Side A, Side B. And then some of them were live, like people would record DJs live off of the mixing board at big illegal raves and stuff, and so those would be for sale also. And you would have to get permission, obviously, from the DJ. But I didn't start DJing until I was in college. I'd already been going to parties for 7 years before I ever played a show. And I was late to the party.
By the way, why rave issues are still predominant on society and politics?
Well, I think dance music at its best, when dance music is good, it's a little bit dangerous.
Why?
Because part of being alive is risk. Part of feeling alive is about risk and danger and thrills and things that you can't do in regular life. And that in and of itself is a danger to the status quo. Like dancing and peace and caring for other people will always be controversial, and that's part of the appeal for me. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm not a lawyer.
Nominated Derek Carter before. Mm-hmm. It was responsible for your first booking in Panorama Bar in 2012 or not?
No. So Derek Carter is a DJ in Chicago. Yeah. I think he's the greatest house DJ that's probably ever lived.
Yeah.
So my first booking at Panorama Bar came, I believe the booking, Gideon, a gentleman named Gideon was the booker then.
Okay.
And I was totally not expecting. I didn't even have a passport. You have to understand, I failed my way to that point. I mean, I was really I was not like a popular DJ in America.
And then in Europe, the thing's going to be explode, because from that moment, you became one of the most DJ on demand worldwide.
Yeah, my life has changed overnight quite a few times. That song, Last Night, a DJ saved my life. A lot of last nights have changed my life as a DJ and eventually as a producer and writer and all of those things. And you do get a second act and a third and a fourth. And I think if you just keep trying to learn and to give your life to this music, it will continue to surprise you.
I love to hear your voice over the Fred Again song.
Well, that makes one of us. It's so weird to hear your voice in a song because that is just not...
Because the Fred Again big hit, Maria...
Yes, I've heard it.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
It's with your voice, with your name on the title. It was one of the most print mark moment during the pandemic.
I know, it was very surreal for me.
Yeah, for all the people of the dance people around the world, party people around the world, they remember that song was like a prayer.
Yeah, and it's weird because as much as I think other people feel that way about it, it's like that song. It's like something that happened to me, not something that I did. Mm. And I think for as much as everybody else has that feeling about it, it's still a little bit outside of me. The whole conversation was much longer. It was like 30 minutes, and at that time, the part that you hear in that song, it feels inspirational. It was me talking myself into it. In the beginning of the conversation, I just sound as sad as everyone else was. It was the hardest time in my life.
Did you know that Fred was recording you?
I did, but you have to understand, it all seems natural now that it was a big hit and that Fred is super famous and it's like Beatlemania, and like it all seems like it was always meant to be now. But at the time, that just wasn't. it wasn't a given. Like, Fred was my friend from way before, before any of these records were made, any of the albums. The idea that my voice would ever be on a record, you can't imagine how absurd it was. And when I agreed to it, I was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, fine. That's kind of cool, yeah. I hope people like it. And then it got released in England on the day that lockdown was lifted. So it just had this effect that was not something you could ever plan. I mean, Fred was not famous at the time. And over the course of a year afterwards, you know, and even now, people come up to me and show me tattoos, and it feels a little like maybe I don't deserve it.
Scary.
Or just like, I feel very humbled by it.
Okay. Do you feel the pressure to be a superstar DJ?
Oh my God. Honestly, I don't have any idea what's going on here. Like, I am so confused about what has happened to me in the last few years. I mean, at the time that I was invited to go to Panorama Bar for the first time, I didn't have a passport. I'd never been anywhere. And then everything changed, and then everything changed again, and then everything changed again, and it all feels like it's happening to someone else. And at the end of the day, I go home and I have the same friends that I have had since I was 18 years old. And I like my actual private life has not changed at all. I have been with the same guy since the dawn of time. I am boring. So I really try to stay very disconnected from it, because I think that the point that you start believing your own story, you're probably mentally ill.
In fact, this is the secret, I think, to maintain the balance for the real me and the superstar me.
I think you might be right.
I think so.
Honestly, it's like it's happening to a different person. Like, and then it's over, and I go back and I'm watching my true crime, and like I'm in my pajamas, like, you know, totally don't relate to it at all.
And pandemic, DJ tours worldwide. How mental health is a topic in the DJ world nowadays?
Yeah.
Is there more awareness or not?
Yeah, I don't know how much good the awareness does us. I mean, I am a crazy person for sure. Like, you know, I have got like 3 doctors that are dealing with all of this, with the bats in my head. You know, no matter who you are, you can get everything you ever wanted in your whole life and more, and I have. And at the end of the day, if you have to stay up for 24 hours, you're still going to go crazy. And I don't think there's any cure for that. Like, there are just some things that are built into the job that are not good for you. Like, people being nice to you all the time, and people looking after little things and making sure that you're happy and you have what you want. Like, that's not normal. It's not normal to be that way. And if you're in this job, you should hire a psychiatrist immediately, and try to live as normal a life as you can. But some of it you can't, and that's why we're all crazy.
Wow. How how the fact that you changed your name in 2020 affected your world and your life?
Well, it made my mom sad, because we're Catholic. And you either know what a Black Madonna is or you don't.
Yeah.
We're in Italy, so none of this is a secret to anybody here.
No.
If you go to Barcelona, you know exactly what that is. I used to be, my name was a Black Madonna, and it's because my family is Catholic, and we are particularly devoted to the Vierge Noire. And the name came from a dedication to my mother and my grandfather, and in honor of them. But in 2020, as the Black Lives Matter movement rose, particularly in America, but throughout the world, I think that the moment creates context around something. And in your life, you're given opportunities to rise to a moment in history. And everyone who's listening will have that moment. And in their own way, where we're asked to make a change or to respond to something, and that opportunity to rise to a moment in history and let go of who you were to show people who you are, it's a privilege. And so while it wasn't easy, it was an honor to be able to answer that moment in history. To be able to do the right thing is a blessing.
You took story by the balls.
Listen, we have one life.
Yes.
And when I die, if I look back and I did anything to let anybody know what side of history I was on, then right on.
By the way, Maria of my heart, the pandemic was a sort of a blessing for you, because during the lockdown you remixed the Dua Lipa's album.
I know, right?
And this is another turning point.
Who could believe it? if it was a lie I told you in a bar, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, this is your third life.
10th, I don't know, like many lives.
Can you tell me the meeting with Dua Lipa? Can you tell me how did you met her?
So I knew her from before. I remixed the record that she did with Mark Ronson and Diplo, and that was just such a great experience. And then we met in person at Glastonbury in Block 9 in this sort of club that comes up. It's like the world's best club for 72 hours, and then it goes away.
Okay.
So when lockdown came, I think we were all trying to figure out how to deal with it, and she reached out and wanted to kind of reimagine the album in a different way. And the great thing about Dua is that she really does love dance music. Like, it's not a joke. Like, she's a real clever. She's one of the heads. Yeah. She's the real deal. And she's just as lovely. Not everybody's lovely, but she is just as lovely as you want her to be. And she is brilliant and kind and funny and smart and interesting, and gave me the latitude to go completely out into places that I don't think many pop people would have allowed. And also, I have to say, her team, it was the whole thing. And at the time, I think it seemed really odd for many people, especially Italy loves dance music, but the rest of the world has been catching up. But it seemed weird at the time, I think, for a lot of people. But I might have been early, but I wasn't wrong.
Did you enjoy the process so much? I can read in your eyes.
Absolutely. My gosh, I was getting, text messages with vocals from Missy Elliott, and, there are outtakes from Madonna, and also then to be able to bring in people like Larry Heard, and they just let me do something that was so ludicrous. In retrospect, you look at pop music now and something like Renaissance, wow, which is just like this incredible dance masterpiece, and the tour and all the things that came around it. It's such a joy to see real house music and underground dance culture being played out authentically on a large stage by people like Dua and Beyonce. And whatever my little piece of the story of this moment in popular dance music is just the thrill of a lifetime. And it was strange. I did it all in my pajamas. Like at home, I couldn't leave the house at all. Like there was no anything. There was just me and Dua over FaceTime.
Wow. And with Dua Lipa, you also share activism regarding the LGBTQ plus cause. Sure. Where are we at on this topic?
A dangerous place. Like, in some ways, like, there's a mainstream acceptance of things, but I think there's also a backlash and a fear, and that has happened before. That is a tale as old as time. Anytime you have a step forward, there's always a certain number of steps back, and I think this is a really scary time for people, and so that's why it's really important to show up and this is not a trend. Like, we all of us, no matter who you are, if you're gay or straight or whatever, it is important to advocate for the basic humanity and dignity of other people. And that is what dance music is about, right? That's it.
That's it, because I think about the roots of the house music culture have these values, these bases back in the day.
Absolutely.
So we have to fight like DJs, as a producers, as a DJ for the cause, I think.
Dance itself is, when you think about it, what a club is. It is a deeply human act of absolute nonviolence. Like, there is nothing that is less violent than dancing. It's a beautiful thing that you do with your body that is about nothing but joy.
It's spiritual. It's a spiritual thing.
Should be.
It's the perfect end of this incredible chat with the Blessed Madonna.
Well, you may have heard this before. If I could live through this interview, what comes next will be marvelous.
Thank you so much.
m2o DJ Station.